G'day guys! I finally got my hands on a Miyoo Mini Plus, so today I thought we would take a look and see how well it performs out of the box without changing anything. Well, sort of. I picked mine up from the Ampone AliExpress store for around $62 Australian delivered, and although I selected the 64GB SD card option, it didn't arrive with the SD card. Checking the order history, it does say I selected the no SD card option, but when going back to the listing, the only options available were 64GB or 128GB. Just as a test, I added another 64GB device to my cart, but when going to the checkout to pay for it, I noticed it did automatically swap back to no SD card. I'm not too sure if this is just a bug or an intentional scam, but if you do decide to order one of these from AliExpress, double check the bundle you've selected is correct on the final payment screen. I did contact AliExpress about this, and their solution was just to send this back, and at the time of filming this video, the glitch is still there. But enough rambling, let's open the box and see what we get inside. Taking a look around the box itself, it has the specs on the right hand side, nothing on the back. It's got the Miyoo Mini Plus logo on the left hand side, nothing on the bottom, nothing on the top, and the box does slide apart. That is a nice touch. Inside we get an after sales service guarantee, not too sure how accurate that is. We get a small instruction manual, nothing too much in here, just the basics. We get the handheld itself, obviously. We'll put this aside for now. At the bottom of the box, we have our USB-C charger and a micro SD reader, which is interesting since it did not come with the SD card. We also have a screen protector. Taking a look around the device itself, on the front, you've got your nice large screen. You've got a D-pad, A, B, X, Y start and select buttons, as well as a function button in the middle. On the right hand side, there's absolutely nothing. On the back, you've got L1, L2, R1, R2, as well as your battery cover. We'll take that off. It does use a pouch battery, and it does say it's 3 amp hour on it. So that's not too bad if it is correct. We'll put this back on. On the left hand side, we have our volume up and down buttons, and that's all. On the bottom, we have a 3.5mm headphone socket, the single micro SD card slot. I do have an SD card in here at the moment, we'll go over that shortly, and a USB-C charging port. On the top is just a power button. Just for a size comparison, here it is next to the R36S on the left and the GB300 on the right. You can see it is very slightly smaller. So since I was diddled out of the SD card that I paid for, we'll be using a 64GB Samsung Evo micro SD card for the rest of this video. I was able to find a full stock 64GB Miyoo Mini Plus SD card image online. It was around 40GB compressed, so we just downloaded and wrote that to our SD card. As far as I know, the image is 100% stock, so it should be pretty much the same as the 64GB SD card they were supposed to include. Before we turn our Miyoo Mini Plus on, I think it'd be worth popping this SD card into a PC and seeing what's on it. We're over on our Windows 11 PC now, and we've just put the SD card in and opened up disk management. We can see there is only one main FAT32 partition, and there's not really much else to see. I'm assuming the unallocated space at the very end is just because I used an SD card backup I found online. Taking a look at the SD card contents, there's a few folders on here which is interesting. We've got App, which is File Commander and RetroArch. Nothing too special there. EMU, I'm guessing this is the config. Actually, it looks like it's the emulator itself. That's interesting. At least it was for Game Boy. The other ones just seem to be scripts. We've got images. They do all seem to be empty though. Miyoo 354, not too sure what that is. RA App, I'm guessing this is RetroArch. Nothing too special in there. RetroArch folder, again, nothing too special. ROMs, I'm assuming this is where our ROMs would be. Nothing in DOS. There are a bunch of Game Boy Color ROMs though, and it looks like the box art has to be in the same folder as the ROMs and match the ROM name. So Dragon Warrior 1 and 2, .gbc, and then .jpeg. We've got themes. There's quite a few in here. We'll definitely take a look at that on the handheld. And a video folder. It does have a video file in here, RMVB, Real Media. We could open it in VLC, but I think we won't ruin the surprise and instead we'll take a look at it on the handheld. Interestingly, it does look like there's no boot files on this SD card, so I'm assuming it does have internal flash it boots from. I think we'll safely eject the SD card and move back over to our handheld. Before we put our SD card in, I do just want to turn it on while it's empty to see if it actually boots. We've got a boot logo, it's a good sign. And sure enough, it does boot from the internal flash. That is pretty cool. It looks like the SD card is mainly used for ROMs, at least on stock. There are a few different custom OS options available, so this will most likely also boot from SD card if it finds valid files. We'll see if there's anything on here. Favorites is empty, games empty, RetroArch is empty, app is empty, and then there's our settings. There is Wi-Fi, which is interesting. What's in the fixes folder? Audio fix. There's also a hardware test and a keys map. Doesn't let you change anything though. Oh, it does. You can change all the buttons. I don't want to save that, so I might just hold the power button. We'll put our SD card back in and take a look around. So it's back on. We'll go back into settings just to make sure I didn't wreck the key map. And it looks fine. Press the menu button. Whoops, I accidentally broke the key map. L, L2, R, R2. We'll save that. And hopefully that's correct. We might take a look at themes. So we've got the default. What's Switch? I'm guessing Nintendo Switch. Not really a fan of this one. Got black. That looks like the default one again. Color. That seems pretty plain. We'll take a look at a default onion. That's not too bad. GB Mini. I quite like that one actually. Evangelion. That sounds interesting. But unfortunately, it's the same. So I'm guessing that's not a valid theme file. We've got a certain website theme. Okay, that's different. Sweet Classic. Looks to be another invalid theme. Genshin Thunder. Another invalid one, it looks like. Yeah. We might go back to default, I think. That's better. We've got a hardware test. Test the buttons. Nothing too special there. And finally, device info. That does just mainly tell you your serial. We might start off under app. So you've got File Explorer and RetroArch. They're not very interesting, so we'll skip that. RetroArch, Game, Favorites. There's no favorites. And Recent. These are the ones that I've tested, but when I first flashed this backup image, Recent was empty. There's not much else to see here, so we'll try some actual games. We've got Arcade. There are a heap of arcade games. We might try Joe and Mac Returns. That should be a platformer. I think I played the NES version, and it doesn't actually load, it quits back out. Maybe Mad Shark then, see if that works. So Mad Shark worked. I might zoom in a bit more to make it easier. This game's okay. Seems to work perfectly. We might quit out of this one. I think the function button is the main button you press. It is. So you got save state, load, native menu, which I'm guessing is the RetroArch menu. It was net play and exit game. I only have one of these Miyoo Mini Pluses, so I don't think we can take a look at net play. Maybe sometime in the future. I guess we'll try some NES or Famicom as it's called here. We'll do Mega Man 3 Classic. It does load instantly, which is awesome. So obviously NES runs perfectly fine, but a big issue with cheap handhelds is the false diagonals. So in Mega Man 3, you press down and jump to slide. But on cheap handhelds, sometimes when holding right and trying to jump, you do accidentally slide. On this device, that's not the case, thankfully. It is actually quite hard getting a diagonal. You really have to commit to it. But that is good to know. Pressing the main menu button does bring up the uniform menu from before. It does seem to quit out of the game back to the main menu pretty quickly as well. Around 1 or 2 seconds. We've got FF Play, which should be a media player. Didn't detect any media though. We've got original Game Boy. Try Mega Man 1. Again, it loaded instantly. Got a little border, so it seems to be the correct aspect ratio. There's no turbo button out of the box, but I'm guessing if you bring up the menu, go to native menu. So this doesn't seem to be using RetroArch. I'm guessing it is using Gambat. We should be able to change the button config. No, we can't. So you don't seem to be able to change the button mapping, at least inside this emulator. We'll see what the L and R buttons do. Absolutely nothing. It is a bit of a shame that there's no turbo or fast forward buttons, at least out of the box for Game Boy. Fast forward and turbo are really handy for games like Pokemon. We'll skip Game Boy Color, we'll go straight to Game Boy Advance. It does seem to have all the Pokemons out of the box. A lot of people don't like to add games to their handhelds when they get them. They just want to pick up and play. So it is good that the more popular games are included. We might try Crash Nitro Kart. Once again, it loaded almost instantly, which is good. We do have a small bezel at the very top and the very bottom. Again, that's most likely to keep the aspect ratio correct. We'll quickly get into a race. So Game Boy Advance seems to work perfectly, but let's see if there's any hotkeys. So L2 is bound to fast forward, which is good. It looks like X and Y are turbo buttons. So that's also good. R2 is also fast forward. So you've got 2 fast forward buttons. If you press both L2 and R2 together, it does toggle it on. So you don't have to hold the buttons anymore. And pressing R2 once toggles it back off. It also seems we've got a CRT shader by default. Bring up the menu, go down to native menu. I'm assuming this is using RetroArch, and it is. The GPSP core specifically. Go down to on-screen overlay. You can see it's set to GBA 3X pixel. I think it doesn't look too bad, but if you don't like this effect, you can obviously change it. I'm assuming Mega Drive's going to work perfectly as well, since it's another low-end system. We've got Super Nintendo. It'll be interesting to see if SNES lags. So interestingly, even though it does have almost 1,500 SNES games, there's no Donkey Kong Country and no Super Mario World. We do at least have Super Metroid though. We've just got UniRally here, or UniRacers as it's known. It's a pretty cool racing game, play on a unicycle. I played way too many hours of this back in the day. And it looks like it runs perfectly. It is a bit annoying that they didn't include any of the more popular SNES games, but I'm guessing that's because of copyright. But then, having said that, they did include all the Pokemon games. So, interesting choice. We'll quit out of this. Master System would be another one that would work perfectly. Shoot, just looks like more arcade games, but shoot 'em ups. One color. And PS1, I think we'll try PS1 next. This is the most demanding system that this can emulate, at least stock out of the box. We do have 53 PS1 games, which is pretty cool. We might just try Crash 2. This one took a little bit longer to load, maybe around 3 or 4 seconds. We're finally in the game, and it seems to run perfectly fine, full speed. This is an easier to run one though, but first impressions, PS1 seems okay. We might quit out of this one. I wonder what open bore is. It's empty. I'm wondering if that's ports. And Neo Geo Pocket's the other one. So there's not too many systems that it can emulate out of the box, at least on stock OS. What does the menu button do on the main menu? Just refresh ROMs. So first impressions of the Miyoo Mini Plus, it does have a beautiful screen on it. It looks really, really nice in person. It is unfortunately really uncomfortable to hold, at least for me, and your right thumb does cover up the single speaker grill. So when you're playing a game, the sound does come through really, really muffled. That is a bit of a poor design choice. It probably would have been better if the speaker was in the center, where your hands don't usually go, but that is just something to keep in mind. The buttons themselves require almost no pressure to activate, which may sound like a good thing, but I often find myself accidentally pressing the L and R buttons when playing a button mashing heavy game, something like Mega Man X. I don't find this very comfortable to hold either, especially for long playing sessions. I do end up with a hand cramp. As far as performance goes, everything that's included out of the box does seem to run perfectly, at least the ones that I've tested. But having said that, there's not many stock systems that it can emulate. I'm not too sure what niche the Miyoo Mini Plus is trying to fill. It's double the price of an R36S, and it's only very, very slightly smaller. It also seems to be fairly underpowered, especially for the price bracket. For $60 Australian, there are better options out there. There are a few different custom OSs available for the Miyoo Mini Plus, so we'll definitely be checking them out in a future video. Hopefully they add a little bit more functionality to this. I think that'll do it for today. If you have any questions or comments, let me know down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching.